careers were something I idolized. Like I idolized anyone who had a big, strong career that they could like reflect back on. I always thought that would be my path. I think it was after my first full year in Toronto, my first full year working, I didn't have that community that I had hoped I would have. I wanted to find a way to create that. So it was probably January 2025 that I first had that seed of an idea, but I never thought it would be something that I would give up my career for.
I'm Hannah Octavia, a 20-something exploring the question, how do people really figure out their careers, their goals, and their lives? This is a podcast about stories worth sharing, the wins, the setbacks, and everything in between. My hopes is that each episode leaves you inspired, motivated, and reminded that every story is different, and that's what makes it beautiful. Hello everyone, welcome back to Seasoned Professional. I'm here today with the lovely Maggie Hildebrand. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course. I think I just need to take a deep breath. Did you work today? I worked today.
Yes, absolutely. It was definitely a working Monday for me.
And Kay, was today was chaotic for me. How was today for you?
I kind of eased into it. I had to take a little walk during the day. Now that the weather is like hitting the 20s, the moment it does that, I'm like, gotta go. I gotta get out.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
How was your Monday? What was chaos?
It was a lot. It was a Monday of Mondays. Okay. It was just a lot. It was a lot. But you know what? It's okay. I tried to decompress on my way home, and I feel good. I feel good. But my brain is a little bit scattered at the moment. But we're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Sometimes, Maggie, I like to use this as like my therapy session, and I really take over from the guests. So I'm going to try not to do that.
It's okay. No, I love it. You give me therapy, I'll give you therapy, back and forth.
Perfect. But perhaps before we get right into our conversation, you could kind of give my guests a little bit of an overview of who you are, what you do, your new endeavors. Yeah. Give it all to me.
Amazing. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Maggie. I live in Toronto, Canada, and I recently went and left my 9-to-5 job as a cancer researcher, to run a social club for women full-time. So I run Connection Collective Toronto, and yeah, that's what I've just jumped kind of headfirst into. I'm hosting events, working on creating content, a newsletter, eventually a podcast, and trying to build up a community of women in Toronto who are just, trying to find new friends and fun things to do together.
Amazing. And this is a very new venture. So when did you left your job in, was it February?
Yeah, in February.
Yeah, so in February, and we're now recording on May 4th. So this is a very new transition. How, before we kind of dive into everything, how have you felt like working for yourself versus that kind of 9-to-5?
Oh my gosh, it has been so wonderful, but also kind of like, as you were saying earlier, chaotic. Like, it is so exciting to have something I'm passionate enough about that I want to do it all day long, every day. I've really traded a 9-to-5 for a 24/7, but that's okay.
Yeah. I know, it's ridiculous.
No, it's insane, but it's the best. And I mean, it's been an emotional roller coaster. Like, I feel like leaving research, I've left a part of my identity there. And I'm now not only building a business, but trying to like build my identity outside of who I was as, defining myself as this research person, as this woman in STEM, and now this entrepreneur in a big city.
That's such an interesting point that you make, because, a woman in STEM, from my eyes, is a very prestigious role, I think, in some regard, like you have done, X amount of university, you've accomplished certain things, you have reached that level. And I would say at a very young age that you've gotten to that point. So do you think that like, do you have any feelings of like, oh, I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not really sure what my question is there, but.
No, I know that feeling though that you're trying to get at. And it's like, that was a huge part of my identity. And I think that's kind of what I've been like working on, is like, I'm so proud of everything I accomplished. I was so proud to go into science, to have like, for a while, I wasn't even confident enough before I went to university to go do it. There was a time I really debated. And then during my degree, I actually switched into health science and into biology.
Oh, wow.
And like, I was so proud of all of that. And I still am. Like, I'm hugely proud that I did that. And that then to be able to come to Toronto and work, I was working at the big cancer hospital here in Toronto, the Princess Margaret. And like, that's, I think, like the number one cancer hospital in North America. Like, I was so proud of the work I was doing. So to leave that behind, it's like leaving a little piece of yourself. And I'm so excited for what I've jumped into now. But no, I know what you mean. It's like, you know, I'm a woman in STEM, but like now I have to choose to kind of present myself differently while still remembering, no, I still have all of that. Like, that's all still part of me. And I'm still using that in a different way.
That's a nice reframe. Wonderful. So I have so many questions, but we need to start from the beginning. So tell me, where did you grow up? Tell me your family dynamic.
Yeah.
All the stuff.
Amazing. Well, I'm originally, I say now that I'm from New Brunswick, but I'm actually from Nova Scotia. So I was born and raised in Truro, Nova Scotia, which is this little town. It's just like a little town on the way to Halifax. It's like a pit stop.
I love it.
So it's not really near anything super crazy. Like, it's not known for anything. And I grew up outside of Truro, so in an even smaller spot called Valley. And yeah, that's where I started, you know, school, elementary school, very rural, very close-knit community, one little park, one like very tiny mid shopping mall. And that was kind of it. I loved it there. Family dynamic, I have a little sister. I only have one sibling, a little sister, and she is my everything. I love her to bits. She's like my best friend. She is, in my eyes, she's perfect. She's still in Nova Scotia. She's in Halifax right now studying. She's in school. And my parents, we moved a little bit growing up. We moved eventually to Montreal for a few years. And then in high school, just before high school, we moved to Moncton, New Brunswick. So that's where I did the latter half of my education. I did high school there, and I actually continued on to university there. So I went to a French language university, the University of Moncton, and did what's called a DSS, which is like a diploma in health science, which is pre-med. And then after doing that, went into biology.
Wow. Amazing.
That's my little maritime trajectory.
Your little maritime. I love it. You grew up bilingual, correct?
Yeah. So basically we don't speak French at home. We, when we moved to Montreal, we were put in bilingual school. Out of my two parents, only my dad really speaks French. My mom learned it later on. And then in Moncton, we went to immersion. So it was, I would say, like 80% French, 20% English. And then I went to French university.
That is intense. French pre-med. that sounds...
Yeah. It was actually so intense. It was crazy.
Like, that sounds really quite intense. And would you say, like, outside of, you know, schooling in French, were you also socializing in French, or were you socializing in English during those years?
During university, I was socializing in French because it was a French school. All the new friends I had made from university were all French first language. So that was so cool. All of my, you know, communications for 5 years of my life, because I was there for 5 years, just all my friends were in French. Eventually I had a roommate, and her and I spoke in French every day. Like, it was so weird coming here and being like, oh, now that's just a part of my life. Like, doors closed. I keep putting bilingual on my resume when I moved here. And then, like, I got the advice from someone hiring. They're like, oh, we don't, like, unless you speak like one of the more common languages in Toronto, like French isn't common here.
Isn't that interesting? So it's, well, it kind of goes back to what you said about, you know, the woman in STEM. It's almost like you have to find that new identity. Yeah. And perhaps you've done that before with the French speaking stuff. I find that's so, it's really interesting. Did you ever get to the point where being so fluent in French that you started to think in French, or were you still kind of doing the whole translation in your head?
No, you reached a point. Yeah. I think before I went to university, I reached a point, like probably in like middle school, I reached a point where it was just like you could think in French, or you could think in English. I dream in French sometimes. I don't know. It just depends on the day. It's one of those things. I feel like you're bilingual that it's just like it's normal.
Yeah, that's amazing. And let's see, going back to childhood, because of course you did share a lovely photo of yourself. It's so cute seeing like people's younger childhood photos, and seeing some people like don't really look like their childhood photos, but I think you very much look like your childhood photo.
Thank you. I love that. I was so proud of that photo. When I found that, I was like, that's the one.
That's the one. So tell me, what's going on? What's going on then?
That's my first day of school. So that's my first day in Nova Scotia. We called it primary, but here you call it kindergarten.
Yeah.
So that was my first day of kindergarten.
Wow. And do you recall that day?
Like bits and pieces. I was so excited. Like I always loved school. I was so excited to go to school, and that continued on. Like I loved university. Like I debate going back sometimes. I'm like, I could just go back for like a little more. Like I could just do a little more. Yeah. So that was my first day of kindergarten. You can't see it in the back, but I'm wearing my prized possession at the time, which was a Scooby-Doo backpack. That was my favorite show. I loved like them solving the mysteries. And I was like, I had to have that Walmart Scooby-Doo backpack. I'm wearing a matching pink set. I'm wearing a skirt and a shirt, and I didn't care what I was wearing. I was not a clothes girl. I just wanted to get right to school as fast as I could get there.
That's amazing. And what do you think, because obviously, you know, going into kindergarten, it's not like you've been exposed to school before. So what do you think made you so excited? Like, were you kind of playing kind of school games as a child? Were you kind of that teacher, that leader?
I think so. My mom was a school teacher. So like it was very like life was always kind of structured in like little lessons. And we went to daycare, or like we went to daycare on and off for a bit. So I was very used to that cadence of like going somewhere and then coming back during the day. So school was just more of that for me. And I loved learning. At the time, I remember as a kid, I took piano lessons, I think just once a week before starting, primary, before starting kindergarten. So I loved learning new things and practicing those things. And it was just another place that I could do it. So I was very kind of like a face forward, keep moving kind of kid. I wanted to be there and try it.
Yeah. Yeah. And your sister, how young, what's the age gap between the two of you?
Just 2 years.
Okay. So very close. And you said at the beginning, like you idolize her. And she's your best friend. Yeah. Was it always like that?
No.
No, of course not. Of course not.
No. Do you have siblings?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like sometimes it's like love hate, especially growing up, and especially when there's like a close age. I think we were always just like, I was the leader and she was always following my lead. As a kid, she was more shy and I was more outgoing as children. Now she's so outgoing and she's got so many friends and she's always doing stuff. But I think back then I was like, Kate's my little sister. She's going to have to like buckle up and come along for the ride. Yeah. As teenagers, it was like, get out of my closet, get out of my room, stop taking my diary. Like it was very much that. But I was always very maternal towards her. I've always felt like she kind of like, she'll say like her girlfriend, she was like, it's not my mom you have to worry about. She's like, it's introducing you to my older sister. Like that's who like
that's who's gonna like lay down the law.
That's who's gonna really be exactly. Yeah. So I'm very maternal towards her. I remember being in like high school, I would like sit her down in my car once I got my license. We'd go for drives and I would tell her like all my life advice and everything I thought she should know and about dating and everything like that. So
and would she receive it?
Ready. Like at the ready, taking notes.
Yeah. Love it. Isn't that's really wonderful. Well, I'm glad that you guys have that relationship. I have a brother, so I think it's a little bit different. And he's 3 years younger than me. And I think he's coming around to me. But you know, I think, he's coming around to me slowly, and it's funny because we do have very similar personalities, but he's probably the quieter version of my personality. And I am more of the energetic, loud, perhaps annoying in his eyes personality. But it's funny because we have like very similar interests and very similar kind of ideals of life. So he's about to embark on a 6-month journey. So I won't see him for 6 months. So hopefully when he comes back, he'll be like, we'll be close again.
Stories,
he'll be like, oh no, I missed you. Yeah. maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, give him room to miss you. I think that's important because I will say that like my sister, like she'll come to visit and I think she's sick of me by day 2.
It's just she's not used to you yet. She's not used to you yet. Yeah. And I'm assuming I know the answer to this. However, now that I'm assuming, I guess I shouldn't really assume, but anyways, I'm assuming that you excelled in school. Is that correct?
I love school. I did pretty well in school. I just liked it so much. I never thought it was like a thing I had to do. It was like how can I do more?
Yeah.
So I was lucky during school that my teachers recognized that, and I was always given opportunities to do extra projects. To take on more work if possible. So I thrived in that environment. I really liked it.
And at that time, obviously you had this like love for learning and kind of continuing forward with your life. Did you have any sort of ideas of what you wanted to be when you were older? What was your dream?
Okay, well, in that picture, like I went to my first day of school, and that day my primary teacher gave us this little like gingerbread looking cutout and made us like dress it up and like cut out paper clothes and like put it on. And we had to like, she wrote on top because most people couldn't write yet. Most of the kids that are 5, first day of school couldn't write out, but what we thought we were going to be when we grow up. And mine was a jungle explorer is what I wrote down.
Love it.
So it evolved every year. It was something new pretty much until I reached high school. In high school, I was like pretty sure I was like, I think I want to go into medicine. But every year during my childhood, it was like, maybe I'll be a jungle explorer. Maybe I'll be a ballerina or a singer, or maybe I'll be a scientist. Like it was always evolving.
And were you met with like, when you did share these thoughts of like, oh, I want to be a jungle explorer or ballerina or whatever, were you ever met with like opinions from other people, or were you just kind of let to have this like free range of possibility?
I feel like I was very much let to just dream.
Yeah.
No one was really telling me at that point what I needed to do, which was nice. And I was always in the backyard exploring. So
as was I. Mud pies was my thing.
Yes, I loved going out there and like cooking and making something. Like my ideal like fun game as a kid was to pretend like that I was lost in the wilderness and that I had to survive.
Love it.
I love when a girl's not afraid to get dirty, because I was like, all my friends, I was like, we're going in the backyard and we're going to come back covered in mud. Head
to toe. It's so funny you say that, because you know like the scenes when someone's washed up on like a beach in like the movies, I would repeatedly play that scene over. But this lost in the wilderness, that sounds like some excellent imaginative play. I think we're missing that. Honestly,
no, we need more of that.
Yeah, I agree. And for my listeners, Maggie and I actually met up a few weeks, probably about 2 months ago, actually, to kind of discuss her coming on the podcast and, you know, all the ideas that we both had brewing in our minds. And when she mentioned that she was from out east, I was just so curious about kind of the culture that's out there, because you had initially told me that you would come to Toronto for more of an opportunity. So obviously it's a smaller environment, smaller community, but what would you say is kind of like the general vibe of back home?
Yeah, it's hard because I do love it, and there's forever a place in my heart there, but it is very much like, it is very traditional. So I think kind of by necessity, there's not a lot of industry out there. I mean, it is growing a little bit, but for example, like my parents, when they think careers, when they think jobs, the jobs that most people do out there, it's like, okay, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a lawyer, you're a teacher, you're a pilot. You know, you're something very traditional. And, you know, you go to your high school and then you graduate, you go to university, maybe a town over, maybe like 2 hours away driving. And that's far from home. And then you graduate and you come back and then you live out your life in that town. You're friends probably with the same people from high school, university. And that's kind of the world, because a lot of people don't go away, and there's no right or wrong. Like it's regardless, whatever you do, it's whatever you want to do. But because of that, it does start to feel very insular. So there's not always a ton of diversity of thought or of opinion or of, you know, ideas for career. And some careers, for example, like the career I moved to Toronto for, which was research, there's very limited clinical research going on in the Maritimes as a whole, let alone the town I was living in, Moncton. So those opportunities are few and far between, and a lot of people do have to move away if they want to pursue them, or they have to, you know, pursue something else. Had I stayed, I was looking at trying to get a job doing fishery research at the federal government, because that's what there is for research in that environment. Or you continue academia and you try to, you know, get on at a university.
Yeah, when you mentioned that to me, I kind of thought about it after, and just how much smaller it is there. And I guess Toronto for so many people is like that land of opportunity, if you will, to kind of have something different. And let's see, where do I want to go from here? Let's see. I think I would like to explore kind of your university career. So you did your pre-med at the University of Moncton. Tell me, like, was your initial kind of goal from that to become a doctor? Did you have like scientist in mind? Was it a researcher in mind? Like, where was your mind at? And did you say that you changed into pre-med?
Yes.
Okay. So give me the whole story.
My university experience started at U Ottawa. I went there for 1 year and dropped out. Okay. I was going through just a lot of mental health stuff at that time. It was my year after I graduated high school, and I just wasn't ready for university at that point in time. And additionally, Ontario high schools prepare you for a different level of university than maritime high schools. I noticed very quickly the disparities in the educational systems, and I felt very far behind as a student who had taken advanced calculus, as a student who had like graduated with honors in high school. I go into Ottawa feeling very, very behind, and I took that as, you know, I'm not equipped to pursue science. You know, so I went back to New Brunswick. I took a year off, and then I went into education, a 5-year combined Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Education at the University of Moncton, but still had that love for science and wanted to pursue it. So I realized that my education had better prepared me for university in New Brunswick. And my, you know, GPA reflected that. It was like I had a perfect GPA my first semester, and I was like, okay, I can go into science here. Like, I'm very equipped to do this. So I transitioned into science at that point.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
I'm glad I didn't like give up. I'm glad I did go back. And I'm honestly, I'm glad the way I did it. Like, I think in New Brunswick, they prioritize bilingualism. So we do a lot of courses in French. We do a lot of our science courses in French. So I'm glad I went back, and I'm glad I did go to University of Moncton. I had such a great experience. And when I went into the pre-med there, I felt very well equipped. It was a 2-year program, kind of to reflect the Quebec system of like cégep. So it's a 2-year course. You take 6 to 7 courses a semester. And then at the end of that, you apply to medical school. Okay.
Yeah. And did you apply to medical school, or what was kind of the next thing? You did? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I did apply. I was so excited. It was the COVID year. It was 2020.
Oh God.
So I know there were no interviews that year. So it purely went off of GPA. So I was waitlisted. And I don't know. Life happens as it happens. I think everything happens for a reason. That was a tough day though, that day that I got my wait list.
And was that kind of the end of that path for the moment, the wait list, or did you decide to, where did you go from there?
Yeah, it was definitely like, I wouldn't say the end of the path, but I would say it made me realize that like out of all the doors, and like there wasn't just one door open in front of me, there's other doors. Yeah. So I can keep, pursuing just directly straight ahead, or I can look at and evaluate. And I think that's what it like gave me the opportunity to do, was to evaluate what was in front of me.
And is that when you kind of decided to go down the researcher route?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I took I made sure to get as much research experience as I could during my degree. It was hard because it was COVID, but summer jobs, I was able to get on at the local hospital. I had already been volunteering at the hospital, but anything I could do to see kind of the research world, and specifically research that would impact people, impact patients, that was what I was really passionate about.
And would you say, because, you had this ambition, I suppose, to go into pre-med, to become a doctor and all that sort of stuff, was it kind of the combination of like human connection plus the science stuff that really drew you to that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and it comes full circle with what you're doing now today with the Connection Collective, is like that idea that you kind of want that human connection. But I would love to speak kind of a little bit about your research role that kind of brought you to Toronto. I think that's yeah. Let's discuss that.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, like I was saying, it's not something that we had back home. So I knew I was going to have to go to a major city if I wanted to pursue that role. And it's clinical research, specifically like being a clinical research coordinator. And what that entails is you are essentially running clinical studies and clinical trials, recruiting patients to these studies and trials, following them through, And if it's more investigator initiated, if it's a doctor ran study, bringing them that information to kind of help develop, new learnings to help in the more development side. Or if it's like pharmaceutical sponsored, then it's to actually test the latest devices, the latest drugs, right on patients. So you're kind of right at that cutting edge. And that's not something we had back home. And Toronto is the place in Canada where there is the most of it. So I had been debating between Montreal and Toronto, and for multiple reasons I pitched Toronto, and I'm so glad that I did.
And what was your first day like?
My first day, it was January 2nd, 2024 was my first day. So right after New Year's, nobody was in office.
Oh no, of course not. You're just wandering around.
Yeah, I was just kind of like there. I mean, it was just a bunch of trainings for the first like 4 weeks at any hospital. You're basically just doing hospital mandated trainings, making sure you're up to date on all your shots and, learning. But eventually I got to be in clinics pretty quickly. I would say within the first, 4 or 5 weeks, I was in clinics observing people with my role, learning from them, and then preparing to start doing it myself. And it was honestly my first time encountering patients in that way. I was in oncology too, so it was my first time, interacting with cancer patients in a way that wasn't just, I used to volunteer, so I would give out sandwiches during chemo, but this was more so talking to them about their disease, and that was a learning curve.
How did you emotionally handle that? Because I would imagine that would be an incredibly difficult thing because, if we're looking at a trial space for trial drugs, it's typically people that, the standard methods of care haven't worked. So you're kind of in a position with very sick people and people who have probably been in this state of living for a very long time. So I think when you're in, from reading people's accounts of illness, your brain almost changes when you go through something like that. But you being on the other side, I would imagine the first time encountering that to just be trying to get your head around that would feel very overwhelming. So what was that like?
No, that's a great way to put it. I think, learning how to communicate about cancer and not have it be a taboo thing. I think in our day-to-day lives, if we encounter someone with cancer, and if we've never really experienced it in our own lives, no one at that time in my personal life had cancer. My family, we had other things go on, a lot of Alzheimer's, but no one had cancer.
Yeah.
So, and cancer is one of those things, it affects everyone so differently, and we almost don't know how to talk about it with each other. We don't know the right thing to say or the wrong thing to say. So I learned, through trial and error and through just kind of accepting that these are just people who want to be communicated to like anybody else. And especially when you're in that medical setting, regardless of your role, you're viewed as someone with authority. So, there's no benefit to beating around the bush. There's no benefit to trying to hide words or not say certain words. You just have to be honest and communicate the information that you have clearly. And I think this was kind of a touchier thing. In our role, we're not supposed to really become friends with the patients. We're not like their nurse. We're not their doctor. We have to be very unbiased because we can't sway their decision to enter a trial or to enter a study. So in the beginning, you have to kind of be a little standoffish and a little cold. But once they're in and you get to know them and you see them on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, you learn about them, you learn about their lives and you learn about their families, and you just have to kind of treat them like any other person you're getting to know while maintaining, that level of professionalism. But mentally, it was a hard balance because I had never done that before, and not having a medical background, not being a nurse, not being a doctor, you don't know where necessarily those boundaries lie all the time, and it's trial and error.
And people who are in a similar position as you, would they have a nursing degree, for example, or be a doctor, or is it more they've gone directly down this research route?
It was a mix. We had on our team, we had internationally trained doctors who weren't able to get certified in Canada, so they came into clinical research. Okay. There were nurses in this role, and there were people with various science degrees in this role. I met people with music degrees in this role.
Oh, that's quite it's really niche.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, as long as you have some sort of medical education, it doesn't have to be your, main degree or your main education. As long as you're kind of the right type of personality for it and you're organized, you can do the job.
given the type of research you were doing, I am wondering, did you lose patients?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was that like?
Hard. So my first role I was in 2 different roles at that hospital. I just switched teams halfway through my time there to go from studies to clinical trials.
Okay.
The studies I was on in my first role were for a type of cancer called cholangiocarcinoma, which is bile duct cancer. And typically it's a cancer found at later stages, like stage 4 is when most people are diagnosed because it doesn't present with symptoms. So it was tough. A lot of those patients I met right after they were diagnosed with stage 4. And, you follow them through, you see them usually like every 3 weeks or so. Mm-hmm. And you do lose patients, you do see them get sicker and sicker. Some of them are fortunate to have treatments that work and, work for a long time. Some of them are fortunate enough to move on to curative therapies, but most of the ones that I encountered in that role weren't. And that was hard. I'd never dealt with that, and the varying ages too. It's not just like the elderly. There were people who were in their early 30s. So it was so tough. And yeah, I took a lot of it home with me, which was hard too.
That was my next question. Yeah. And because just like given the whole scenario, you moved to Toronto, you're doing this job that you had worked really hard to get. And I'm assuming, you're in a new city, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to find your community, and then you come home with this heaviness of the day. Yeah. How were you able to eventually, did you get to the point where you could kind of leave work at work? Did it really impact you? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, so I really struggled making friends moving to Toronto. And I think part of it was because I worked such a demanding full-time 9-to-5 job, and often it exceeded the 9 to 5 hours, just the nature of the job. Like if you have patients in clinic that are arriving at 4:30 and they're only seen at 5:30, you can't control that.
No, of course. So
very tired after work. I honestly, I think I got a little better at taking it home with me, but I think I'm gonna remember most of their names and faces forever. It's a job that I took with me, and I think, to go back in time and think about medical school, I honestly do sometimes think it was like a blessing that I didn't get in on that first try. So, because I think I just took it home. I thought about them every day. I thought about them on Christmas, and I think I always will. But it was heavy to carry. And then going home, I was exhausted, trying to meet new friends in Toronto in an already isolated city where everyone's in their tiny condos. Everyone goes to work and goes home and is grinding really hard. And most people our age already they don't just have one job. They're doing so many different things, many different side projects. I couldn't even find the people to meet.
It's like, make eye contact with me, please.
Yeah,
we'll smile at each other and hopefully we'll talk.
I know. I felt like I was flirting with every girl. I was like, hey,
I know. You
want friends?
That is so funny that you say that. We will move on into what you're doing now. However, before we do, I just want to talk about being a woman in this environment. So what was that like? People always say, oh, women in STEM, it comes with a lot. So what was it actually like for you?
I was very fortunate. I was on a team full of women. My first job at that hospital was on a team of exclusively women working in one of the toughest disease sites, which is GI, gastrointestinal. And it was awesome to be surrounded by all of these girls who just got it. And we all were very proudly women in STEM, very proud of our educational backgrounds and what we were giving and what we were contributing. And it made the office environment really, really fun. I loved working in girl office. So the day-to-day was really good. It really solidified my identity. Women are meant to be in STEM. We thrive in the medical environment. We thrive in that scientific, type of career. So it really reinforced that for me. I found that, in that hospital, it was very well, most of the jobs, nurses, doctors, equal numbers of men and women. So
wow, that's amazing.
They were great for that. So
yeah. And, you mentioned that work was a wonderful place to be. Did you ever try and take those friendships outside of work? Or was that something difficult to do? Everyone's so busy.
No, it's true. So they are all so busy. And the thing about Ontario is everyone went to like the same 4 universities here. So everyone has their kind of friends from university already. And that's
Yeah.
still kind of their friend group, similar to where I'm from. So it's not that different. Everyone kind of just has their friend group already. So unless you moved here from the outside, it was hard to break in. The girls I worked with were amazing. We would go out for drinks after work. They were so much fun, but they had their own lives already. I did become very close friends with one girl from work who to this day we're very, very good friends. She helped me come up with the name Connection Collective. She helped me run most of my first events and she still attends many events today.
Oh, that's lovely.
So I met her through work, but she was new to Toronto. She's from Ireland.
Okay.
So similar to me, she didn't have any ties like here already and was looking for friendship.
I see. So it's almost like you have to find those people that are also in the mindset of like, I need to build connections here.
Yeah, and put them all in one room.
Oh my God. And that is what you've done. But when did this kind of seed get planted in you that perhaps you wanted to leave the research career, that perhaps you wanted to do something on your own? When did that kind of start?
It didn't happen simultaneously. So it was the creating something first before ever thinking of leaving the career. Like careers were something I idolized. Like I idolized anyone who had a big, strong career that they could like reflect back on. That was always what I aspired to. And I think that just like is in line with, I loved school. I idolized, these structures and these organizations. So I always thought that would be my path. But I think it was after my first full year in Toronto, my first full year working, I didn't have that community that I had hoped I would have. And I wanted to find a way to create that. So it was probably January 2025 that I first had that seed of an idea, but I never thought it would be something that I would give up my career for. I always thought it would just be a little, side project, a little fun thing that I did. And the leaving the job came later. The leaving, even the idea popping in my head that, wait, could this be full time? That didn't happen until towards the end of 2025, when things were really starting to pick up. The ball was rolling, and I just found my time so thin. I didn't have any time to do anything but plan before work for Connection Collective, go to work and do my job, my very heavy job in clinical research with these patients, and then come home from work and continue doing my side hustle.
It's a lot. Yeah. And so January 2025, you kind of looked around at your life and thought, I thought I'd be further ahead in terms of my connections, my friends, all that sort of stuff. So you had this idea. Where did the idea for an actual, community and connection, like specific group come into play?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. It started out as just wanting to meet girls who also wanted friends, because I was going to a lot of like different types of classes, like workout classes. And I'm like, I love to work out. I don't know which girls in this class love to work out and also want friends.
Yeah.
I don't want to bother them. They're quickly tying their shoes after class and getting out of there. Yeah. So let them be. I was just like, imagine if there was a room full of people who also wanted to be friends. And that was like, everyone came in knowing that. So I kind of obsessed over that idea for a little bit, but I didn't act on it. I thought like Lucianne and I, my friend from Ireland, were brainstorming ideas for this club. And that's where that name came from in January. And I did start posting on TikTok talking about the loneliness I was feeling, just kind of being transparent. Like, you can have a very seemingly on the outside looking in full life, but still feel lonely. And is there anybody else in Toronto who's my age who feels like that right now? Because we should hang out. That was kind of the vibe. I was like, also, if you feel that, just DM me. Please. So it started out as like, I did end up going for some dinners with girls I met through TikTok, which was amazing. I've made a couple of friends that way, which was so much fun. But some of those posts went a little bit viral, and I got lots of messages or lots of comments. And then I was like, there's enough of us here that we can have a group dinner or a group hangout. And eventually, towards the beginning of June 2025, after a couple of dinners, after a couple of hangouts, I was like, I want to formalize this. I want this to be something that if people are Googling how to make friends in Toronto, where to find cool girls in their 20s in Toronto who want to be friends, that this thing will pop up so that they don't feel like there's nothing out there for them. So that's when it's formalized. The name became an Instagram handle, and I posted a TikTok saying that I was going to host a free picnic.
Wow. And here we are today.
And here we are.
Oh my goodness. And so tell me about the picnic. So you had this idea, you know, for everyone to meet up and kind of, was this your first in-person event under the name? Okay. So prior to this point, you were kind of just forming the ideas. And for people listening, just remember that things do take time. So this idea was first planted in January and the first meetup was in June. So that's a significant amount of time. In the grand scheme of things, it's a blink of the eye. But I think we get so ahead of ourselves, specifically myself with ideas. It's like I have the idea and it's like, well, I need to do it now. Yeah. Did you have that same sort of like, I must do it now? Or do you think it was a gradual kind of growth to where you were and, you know, hosting your first event?
I definitely wanted to do it right away, but I didn't think anyone at the time, I didn't have any proof of concept that anyone would be interested.
So you needed that reassurance,
I
almost
bit of confidence first. So I had never posted. I didn't even have. I had a TikTok account, but I had never posted at that point. So first, I had to post a video on there and get comfortable.
Oh my gosh!
So and I barely use Instagram, so I didn't have any way of like communicating to the outside world. So I was like, first, I'm going to just like test out the waters, figure out how to use the app, post a video, talk about it, and like. I was trying to, in the beginning, solve my own problems. So hosting these dinners or hosting these little meetups, I would go for coffee dates with girls I met through TikTok DMs for the first couple of months. I was like, okay, maybe this will actually satisfy the need. Maybe this will shut off the need for that for me. Maybe I won't even need to start Connection Collective because I'll have a community. Yeah. But I just became obsessed with the idea. And I did make friendships, but I was also like, this is now something that I want to do so bad. And I think based on the response, it'd be so beneficial to so many other women besides myself that I have to go forward with this.
Well, it slowly became like bigger than yourself. You know, you're realizing that so many other women are in the exact same position. And I think that's like kind of the issue with so many things is the fact that like no one actually says it. No one says how they're feeling. And then the moment someone raises their hand and says, oh, this is how I'm feeling, it's like 100 other hands go up. And like posting that first video on TikTok, admitting to the world that like you were in a space where you were lonely, you know, you had this seemingly perfect life. Did it feel like you had failed in some way, or what were kind of the feelings that came up with that?
I definitely felt that long before I posted that TikTok, definitely. You see it online, and I know everyone just presents like whatever they want the world to see online, but so many of us, including myself, take that at face value and be like, that's what it is. Everyone else has friends. Everyone else has these posts with these people and they look happy. And on my posts, I did too. But I was like, everyone has that but me. And of course I felt lonely. I'd go home from work and I was in my shoebox, 350 square foot studio apartment by myself.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, devastated. It's so sad. Devastated over that I saw that day. Like all by myself. And I think especially if you do work a heavy job, you need to have people you can surround yourself with. And I didn't really have that at the time.
And would you say that you're an introvert or an extrovert?
I would say I'm an extrovert.
Okay, you are an extrovert. You see, I would say I'm an introvert. Mine is like, would you think otherwise? No, Kate, but Kate, this is my understanding of extrovert versus introvert. Okay. And extrovert, you gain energy from other people. So you become energized from others. Yeah. And sometimes I do, but sometimes I just need my own space. Like, do you ever find that you need time alone, or are you always kind of craving connection?
No, I'm always kind of craving connection. I mean, enough time alone for me is when I go to the gym. And I go to the gym, I do things, I'm alone, I'm alone. Or when I'm working throughout the day, I'm doing my work, I'm alone. But I think I do feel I'm never giddier than when I come back from hosting an event. I never feel more like I could run a marathon after coming home from an event. So I guess, the inverse. But you do display like an extrovert.
I was going to say, I really do. And, you know, when I come off these podcasts, I do feel that giddiness that you just mentioned. So I don't know, maybe even a little bit of both. But especially when I was very primarily like working from home and kind of doing my own thing, you do kind of lose your mind a little bit. Like by the end of the day, my fiance would walk through the door and I'd be like, talk to me now. I'm actually losing my mind. Like, oh man. But anyways, now it's a very different setup in my life and I'm talking 24/7. So after work, I'm like, I need to decompress. But let's talk about the picnic. So what was that first event like? Because what were your expectations, first of all, for what it was going to look like? And then what actually happened?
So expectations, I mean, I posted a video. I sat down in my apartment backyard and filmed a video stating exactly what I wanted the picnic to be. And because I think I worked in medicine, I worked in clinical research, I'm very like, I've got all my stuff lined out. Logistics are done. It's done the way it is and no one's going to mess with it. So I was like, here's what's happening. Here's the date. Here's what we're doing. Here's what you're going to do when you show up. It's like, it was going to be very chill, which was good too. I just wanted a bunch of girls. Ideally, in my head, I was like, if I could get 15 girls, that would be insane. Like, like 15 girls. Could you imagine if 15 strangers showed up at a place just because I told them to? So that seemed like unreal to me, but that was the goal. I wanted them to come, bring your own food. I'm not providing food. This is just, I will have blankets for everybody, and everyone who does show up comes with the intention of talking to somebody new and having a real conversation. There was no planned activity. There was no planned event other than just, we are all gathering, we are all girls, and we're all going to hang, and it'll be a beautiful evening. So that's what the intention was. And then it ended up being a lot bigger than that, which was insane. I rented out a picnic spot in High Park and I put my insurance down, saved the date, made a little Canva map to show everyone how to get there that I emailed. They all signed up on this Google form, and 300 girls signed up.
That's insane.
It was crazy. It was nuts.
Is insane. So when, and you going into this picnic, did you know that 300 girls had signed up, or was it only once people started coming that you kind of realized the reach that it had?
No, I knew, because the video itself for me, like it got like a few 100,000 views, and I was like, okay, like a lot of people are seeing this, and then they signed up through my Google Forms. Okay. So I saw 300 responses come in. Not all 300 of them showed up. We still only had like probably, I'd say a third show up, so like 100, but still, it was unfathomable to me that would even happen.
And did you kind of display yourself as the person who brought this together? Was it more of like everyone just come and talk? Like, what was your role in this?
So, I mean, in the beginning, I sat there in the middle of all these blankets that a local community center had donated. They just donated a bunch of blankets. And I sat there in the center with my friend, and we were just like waiting for the girls, and they slowly trickled in. Yeah. And in the beginning, when it's like, probably like you start, one girl shows up, you have a conversation, another girl steps in, it becomes a circle. Yeah. I was a little nervous when we were at like 10 girls, because it was still one big circular conversation. But at that point, it's so hard because everyone's waiting their turn to talk. Yeah. Eventually more girls came and everyone split up, and that's what I wanted. I want a lot of one-on-one connection. Yeah. So as the number kept increasing, I actually think it really added to the experience, because then people could talk to different people. You didn't just have to talk to, everyone in this one little circle. You could have a conversation, move along, have another little conversation. I'm not someone, I don't like speaking in front of groups of people, so I didn't want to present myself as the person and be like, this is my thing. But at the end, I knew I wanted to do like a little call to action. Yeah. So I did stand up at the end, and I was like, I'm Maggie, like, thank you for coming. Please take out your phone right now and look at the girl next to you and add her on Instagram.
Oh, that's nice.
Just because I want to give them permission to talk to each other,
do that again. Yeah, it's like, it's not going to be weird. We're all going to do it. Yeah. Ask the thing that probably everyone was wanting to do anyways. Yeah. Goodness. I'm like picturing myself what I would feel like waiting in the center of that circle. Just freaking out. Like, were you not in a pure, and perhaps I'm just putting my own opinion onto you, but I would be in a pure panic.
I was a little manic. Yeah. No,
And
I was definitely, I vlogged the whole experience. I never posted the whole experience, but just for me to look back on, I had a little video on my phone and I'm like, my face, I look like a clown. Like I'm smiling so big. My eyebrows are so high up. I
yeah,
had, I'm dressed to the nines.
I love it.
I'm like, here I am. Like,
Here I
come
am,
to my
like me.
picnic. Yeah. I'm like, I said I was lonely. Now here I am in the middle of his picnic blanket. Come talk to
Come
me.
talk to me,
Yeah,
please.
it did.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
And it worked out.
that's incredible. And from this point on, you kind of had this like boom in connections and people, and clearly this was needed. And you were featured in the Toronto Star. So was that kind of, did that come off the back of this picnic, or was it from something else?
I was a few events in at that time, so I just kept hosting. I hadn't really thought about it ahead of time, what types of events I wanted to be hosting. But people from the community came out and, volunteered themselves to do different things and came out with different ideas. So I'm just like such a logistics girl. I was like, I can make this happen. Like, that's easy. That's just like an email.
Yeah.
That's just like a deposit here or whatever. So I was happy to make things happen. And then I was reached out to by the Toronto Star after maybe 3 or 4 events. I started in June and they reached out in August. So it was pretty quick that they reached out. And I think it was because one of the girls, I'm not sure if the writer herself attended one of the events, because she was also just a girl in Toronto, or if it was one of her friends. But it was either her or a friend that had like made that happen. So it was very organic, which I loved.
And it just seems like this unfolded in a way that perhaps you didn't necessarily plan for. And it's interesting because, looking back at your life, I think a lot of your life has been very planned. You seem like a type A person. Would you agree with that? Yes. 100%. A type A person, very academic, very logistical. And you have succeeded in that way for a very long time. But it's also, you have now explored a different path of like success and kind of the more natural process, I suppose you could say. And you found success there too. So it's interesting how, I don't know, I feel like sometimes growing up, we put ourselves like into boxes. Like you always have to be this very logistical person. You always have to be the scientific person. Like you can't branch out into anything else. And I think your story is kind of proving the opposite of that, and that you can excel in these 2 different areas of life, if that makes sense. I'm just nattering on now, but I hope that made sense.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I think I did put myself in a box for a long time because of my education and background. I was like, I am science girl. Any career I do has to be science. Like I thought even business was too far of a reach. I was like, I cannot apply to any jobs that aren't in a hospital because I'm not trained for that. I am STEM girl. Like I have to be doing this research and this thing that I feel very passionate about. But I think if I do reflect further back on my life and who I was, like even in primary, even in kindergarten, I'm just a very exploratory person, and I go based off of what interests me. And my ideal career was always evolving. And I think what this has done is it has allowed me to like see my adult life in that way as something that can evolve and can change shape. I do still idolize people with very big careers, but now I'm realizing the vastness of what that can be. It's not just a very linear path. It can be one thing for a while. It can be another thing. It can be multiple things at once. And it's now more playful. I feel like I get to explore that as an adult now that I've given myself permission to step outside of that box for a little bit.
That's really beautiful. I like that. I'll keep that one in my brain. And okay, so we're now at August. You've been featured in the Toronto Star.
Yeah.
And, we've hosted a few events. We're kind of building momentum here. Where are we at this point? Have we gotten to the point where we're like, ooh, I need to quit my job? Or what are we kind of thinking at this point?
August, September, we are busy. We are getting tired. Work is picking up. There's a lot going on there. And now outside of my work, Connection Collective is picking up. Businesses want to collaborate. I had been reached out to by some brands that wanted to collaborate, and people that were even interested in like investing in this. So it was a lot at once.
Yeah.
And it pulled me in a lot of different directions. So I was confused. August, September, I am confused. I didn't know how to move forward. And I didn't even know yet that quitting my job was an option. It never seemed like an option. It didn't seem like an option until probably about December. But in that fall, I was just like, I was kind of burning myself out a little bit because I knew what I wanted it to be and I knew what it could be. And I know I'm still not there yet. I'm still on that path, but I started to have that like North Star vision of what this could look like if I were to put everything into it. But I just thought everything meant outside of my 9-to-5 job. I didn't know that I could do everything and have it be my entire, all of my efforts, all of my energy.
And when did you kind of make that switch between like, this is a side hustle, this is my, hobby, into this could actually be something that I could pursue as a career?
Yeah, definitely later that fall. It was through having brands start to reach out and realize, because the first thing that was in my head was like, okay, like this isn't going to replace my income. Toronto is such an expensive city. I want to have a savings. I want to be able to have a future. And I thought that meant the 9-to-5 career. But I'm fortunate to have connections that I've made here in Toronto. My partner and a lot of friends I know are self-employed, are freelancers, are in, the world of making things happen for themselves and doing so successfully. So I was having conversations with them about what their life looks like and how they make it work and how exciting it is to be motivated by something that you're building through pure passion.
Yeah.
And I was feeling that excitement. And I didn't even know that excitement existed. I remember talking to those same people before I started this. And I was like, okay, like, sure, like, whatever. Like, I didn't think that it was as extreme as it is. But now feeling that passion, that drive to build something for yourself, it's so visceral. And I'm now realizing how rare that is, and that if I'm lucky enough to have that in some capacity, I felt like I would be doing myself a disservice and people around me a disservice if I didn't pursue it. So I started looking into the feasibility of this in, I would say, October, November. And by December, my partner and I were having serious conversations about, okay, like if I do this, if I make this jump, what does it look like? How do we make it work? I was fortunate enough to work and, have savings, and my partner was very supportive because he's also a business owner. So he knows what it's like to dive headfirst into something. And I'm also in my 20s. Like, I don't feel like I have anything major to lose. Like, at the end of the day, I ran through every scenario, like a good researcher. And
of course.
If this crashes and burns, like if this doesn't work out in the way I want, like where am I left? And what I'll be left with is amazing experience. I will be able to have learned so many new skills, formed so many new connections, personal, but also business connections. I will have so much more confidence. And whatever I do go into next, I will go into with all of that. And who knows, maybe I'd even go into a different career because I'd be so inspired by what I did. But I don't think any of that would be negative. So at the end of the day, if all I have to lose is a little bit of time and a little bit of money, and I have so much more to gain from it, even if success doesn't look like it being the world's most successful business, then I have to do it.
Yeah. There's truly no other way. And, with that idea of success in mind, what would success be for you in this idea at the moment?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Yeah, this is what I dream about. Like, this is what I lay down and I'm like, what could this be? What would success look like? I mean, success would look like this continuing, being able to do this ongoing, and also it growing. I think there's so many avenues that I could take it down. I want to have recurring successful events. I want to have recurring series of events where I collaborate with local businesses and elevate local businesses. Like right now I do a monthly book club out of one of the local bookstore wine bars here in Toronto. And I love doing that. I love elevating local businesses. And I also love recurring events where girls can come and meet those same girls once a month. They know they have them to come back to. So I want to expand those formats. I want to collaborate with some, bigger brands. I think that in Toronto, there's so many pop-ups, there's so many activations, but I think the way that I'm doing my community is really special because it's so intentionally based on connection. I think if brands are going to spend the money on those types of things, like if they're going to have that pop up, why not do it in a way that brings together women in such an intentional, such a wholesome way that's going to leave a positive impact? Like you have that opportunity, and it's really making them see that I think is part of, the next phase of this. And I want to expand formats. I think I want to be able to find women through social media, because maybe that girl who's lonely, she's probably scrolling her phone after work. I've got to put more content out there so she can see that she's not alone and that she'd be so welcome at these events. And maybe even just like a certain types of content or certain types of blog posts, or maybe something would make her feel that day a little less alone. And then hopefully someday in the future, the dream would be to do other cities.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, you have the passion for this, when you were speaking about you were surrounded by these people who had these passion-filled careers and you were kind of like, don't really get it. I have been there too. And I think a lot of people who have followed, a side hustle or followed a career in the line of passion, it's like you don't understand until you've experienced it. I almost relate it to, this might be quite niche, but I recently learned how to do a headstand. And when you do a headstand, it's really, really hard. And then all of a sudden it feels like you're just standing upright. Like it just feels like it's natural. And until you experience that, you can't wrap your head around it. And I think it's the exact same thing. It's like until you experience that drive and that ambition and that passion for something that you could do all day long and make no money, as I have done myself. It's like it's like a crazy thing to, I don't know, I feel like it shows you what you're capable of in some way. And of course, now I just got really excited about talking about my headstand, and I lost my train of thought, Maggie.
I love that. I also am on the headstand journey.
Amazing. Have you done one? What was it like?
I have. It was incredible. And then the next day I couldn't do it.
Okay, well, it's okay. I know I've fallen on my head a few times, and then I'm like, ooh, I'm a bit scared. But then you just got to keep it practice. So it's just a practice.
Keep doing it. Yeah, I'm actually 3 months into the headstand journey. I've been working out the wrists. I've been doing it. So it's so fun. I totally agree with that. It's like you didn't think it was possible until you did it.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess I'm curious to know, because, when we did sit down for our chat a little while ago, I think one of my first questions was, how did your parents feel about you making this transition? Because I have dealt with, I wouldn't say negativity, but there's definitely been some questions from my parents as to why am I pursuing this? And you had a similar experience. So, tell me when you first kind of told your parents, hey, I might be leaving the research job. How was that taken?
I think I test drove it a little bit. I think I would drop it because we do phone calls, I would say once a week. So I think I would drop it in a phone call. I'd be like, it's going really well. I could just leave my job and do this. And they'd be like, oh, haha, not funny. Kind of gloss over it. My parents love, similar to me, they love a good career. My dad was a pilot from the time he was 17 to the time he was 65. He had that one job. My mom had a couple of jobs sort of 20s, but then became a teacher and was a teacher and she's still to this day teaching. So they're very traditional and very small town. They're from the Maritimes. They have traveled quite a bit, and they've both lived in other places that aren't the Maritimes, but they still are traditional in that career sense. So, trying this out with them, it was more so testing the waters in the beginning, and also just recognizing to myself, regardless of whether or not they get it and wholeheartedly believe it will succeed in the way that I have to in order to sleep at night and in order to pursue this, they're going to love me no matter what. I mean, the conversations are still, they're happy for me. They're always asking about the events and what's going on. My mom is a little bit more so and when are you going back to work, do you think? Do you think it'll be soon that you go back to work? Have you considered applying for jobs? Yeah. And it's just nope. I just have to be so firm in myself and know that I can't take that as her. I can't be well, you're not supporting me. It's she's doing what she thinks is right for me. That's the frame she looks at the world. and she loves me and supports me in her own way. And it's also kind of a bit like, okay, well, I'm just gonna prove you wrong. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just watch me now. Do you think you've always had that kind of viewpoint of, you know, that's just the way that you're looking at the world and I'm going to accept you for that, but at the end of the day, I know that you're always going to love me? Or was it ever kind of that, why don't you support me mentality?
I mean, I think when you're a teenager, it's like, why don't you agree with everything? Why don't you agree and see it?
Yeah.
You just see that one point of view, and you're like, that's also the frame I've only ever known the world through that one frame, and therefore I think it's right. I think as an adult, I've begun to accept more how different people can see the same situation can be seen so differently, like just through different eyes based on everyone else's experience. So I can see that and accept that and disagree, and feel that like, that's fine. You can still have the best intentions. One of the things that I love that I learned through a job, actually, I worked a retail job, and the store policy towards stealing, like, you know, people who would come in, customers who'd come into the store and steal, was to hold the highest thought. And that's never left me. They're like, if someone steals, like, for sure we have loss prevention, but like, some of the employees would get really upset, and we were also in a small town. They'd be like, no one should steal, but our manager would say, hold the highest thought, assume that if they took it, they absolutely needed it way more than we did. Like, we don't want product to be gone. That's not good for our bottom line, but like, we can't operate from anger. So I've like taken that and just really lived into that throughout my life since working that job, is that you just have to hold the highest thought of everybody. Like, I can't assume because someone says, maybe you should go get a job, that they don't care about me and what I want. They're just operating from where they think is best.
That is really good advice. And I think most of my day today was so bad because I operated from a point of like anger and from like, what, like, it's almost like, you know, it's so funny growing up because I think you really need to kind of get to a point where it's like, oh, this isn't about me. And it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. You almost have to remove yourself completely from the situation. And I don't know if there's like certain mindsets that are like better in that regard to just be able to remove themselves. But I find it so hard sometimes to just let people be who they're going to be. And I find that I'm like very often like coming up against these situations where it's like, well, no, I'm right. Like, I have to be the one with the last say. And maybe I just need to actually hold them to the highest regard because, you know, the intention is, it's not likely that it's to hurt me or to insult me or to do these things to me. It's just the reality. It just is, you know?
Yeah. No, and I get it too, though. I've definitely been there and still get there where I'm like, how could you even think that? Like, how could you say that? Like, I couldn't even fathom how their thought process got them to where they are. But that thought has helped me. And then, have you ever heard of shadow work?
No, tell me.
Oh my God.
What is this? Is this going to change my life?
So I, from a podcast, learned about shadow work, and oh my God, I'm going to butcher these philosophers' names because I learned everything through a podcast. Carl Jung, the philosopher, Jungian philosophy.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to explain it, but I will do my best.
We'll link it down below as well, friends. You can go listen to that.
Yeah. But no, just this idea that like when people are displaying, I guess, like a negative version of themselves or saying things that have the intention to bring somebody down, that's like their shadow talking. And their shadow, you know, if someone says, or if I actually used it on myself when I first learned about it, because I had, to kind of like expose myself, I had like people in my life that like, you have people in your life that you just don't see eye to eye with, you don't get along with, and you'll think negative thoughts about them and you'll feel justified in that. And I would do that. So, you know, sometimes it was maybe a coworker I didn't get along with or someone from my personal life or from school or something. And I'd be like, oh, well, she's doing that. And that's dumb, or like she's wearing that and like that's stupid, like but what that is, the way that this like type of philosophy interprets it is everything comes from some sort of manifestation unconsciously of either you want it and you admire it and you don't have it, and therefore your brain will try to trick itself and like make you feel better by saying you don't want it and that they're wrong for wanting it or they're wrong for having it. So the idea is everything you think negatively about comes from some place within that, or maybe it's a place of jealousy, like maybe you feel jealousy towards it and you express it through this way. So I would do that a lot, and the idea with like Jungian philosophy is to really confront your shadow and to like think everything you think negatively about, to really examine it and where it comes from and try to find the root cause. So like if I talk negatively about this girl, like maybe I'm actually just like a little bit jealous of certain things in her life. Maybe I wouldn't want her life, but I'm jealous of her house, or I'm jealous of her whatever. And my brain wants to think badly about her, but I just need to like, you need to just give out the love. So it was really easier to preach than practice. And I still work on it, but it really went hand in hand with that, like holding the highest thought thing. So that's kind of, I'm trying to be a better person little by little.
As am I. It's, you know what, it's a constant process. And I think I really appreciate you sharing both of those things, because I think that's something that I'm going to bring forward in our conversation. You know, I always like to kind of have little tidbits for myself. Selfishly, I'm like, tell me the things I can use in my daily life from these conversations. And I think that's something that's so important, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, because I don't know about you, but I am constantly comparing myself to other people and constantly like, you know, oh, they're doing better than me. They're doing this better than me. And it sometimes I'll have the negative thoughts towards them, but very often it's the negative thoughts towards myself. And this idea that like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not interesting enough. I, you know, whatever it might be. I'm like, how does that kind of work in your life? Do you find that you're, you know, comparing and doing all these things that, you know, we say we won't do? And then we do.
Yeah. Oh my God. In Toronto too, like there's just so many examples of like, and I think as women too, like we do it so much out of like survival. It's probably just an evolutionary thing out of survival to kind of maintain social status. But like if I were to compare to my own work, there are so many social clubs in Toronto, and there are so many incredible, cool, well-educated women running these clubs. And like, I definitely do feel sometimes I'm like playing that comparison game, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, should I be doing that? Should I try to match or try to outcompete? And I think like there's no benefit in that. Like if I do that, then I'm creating something that already exists. Like if I'm just copying them and just trying to outdo somebody. So I need to admire them for what they're doing, learn from them and like their success, but like create what I authentically want to create. Cause like for sure there's like a million social clubs in Toronto, but in my mind, mine is unique because my intention coming into it was just to create space to connect. It wasn't coming from any sort of thing other than that. And everyone has a different reason for creating their social group. And maybe the way I want to move it forward in the future is different than the way they'd want to move it forward. So there's room for all of us. And I've had to like learn that about myself. In entrepreneurship though, oh my gosh, like it's so easy to compare yourself because you just have all these examples of people who are like where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's hard. Like it's not that I don't have that. I'm not perfect. I definitely I feel jealousy, I feel envy, but I just work as hard as I can to be like, they started somewhere and I'm starting.
Exactly. And I think that's like the epitome of this podcast, is to kind of show the steps beforehand, because, you know, the beginning of this was very similar to yourself. It's like you are looking for something that you don't have, and so you just create it yourself. And I have been burning this whole time wanting to ask you this question, but have you found a community? Like, do you think that you've got that community that you were so desperate for, you know, back in January of 2025?
I have, and it's funny because it came from like the most unexpected place. I really thought that the community I was craving would come from girls I've met through events. And a lot of them I have met and become friends with, which has been great to be in contact with them outside of just hosting events. But a lot of it has come from the people I've now met along this journey who are also entrepreneurs. So I've now met like people I've collaborated with on events who have become close friends with me. And on the other side of that coin, it's like the few friends that I had here before that I had through just like mutual contacts through my partner. they've just shown how much love and support that they gave to this idea.
Yeah.
And they knew me before, and they've gotten to know me better as I built this. And from the beginning, a lot of them, I had only hung out with them a handful of times, and then they come to almost every event. They come out and show support. So it's like, it's really been showing to me, proving to me that there are always people around you who want to support you and who want to give you that love. And it's helped me build a community for myself. So through people I've met at events, people that I didn't realize that I had, which I'm so grateful for, that they, came along for the ride and are, now near and dear people in my life. And then these other entrepreneurs who are just the coolest people. Toronto has the sickest entrepreneur population. Everyone's doing something really cool, like yourself. Like everyone's just building.
I am so excited to actually move there and set up my life there and kind of surround myself with that type of people, because I think, I have some of my previous guests that I've interviewed, they have connections with these YouTubers called Amen and Beck, and they always really preach this idea. I know, don't you love them? Well, and you were reached out by Habit, which is their tea company, correct?
Yeah.
So are you going to be doing something with them? Something in the future?
Yes, hopefully in the future we'll be doing something.
The amount of times I've emailed them. But anyways, I did have their lovely brother on who's built this amazing following all about, he's a vegan chef and he lives in Hamilton. So a little bit outside of Toronto. But something that they preach so heavily is surrounding yourself with love and surrounding yourself with the people that you idolize. And I think that's something that I specifically don't do enough. I don't tell people that I find them inspiring. And I need to tell people that more, I think. I find you so inspiring because you are following this path that you are so passionate about. And I think, there's the added layer of, it's not like you didn't like what you were doing. I think a lot of people, when they leave the 9 to 5, it's with the idea that they didn't like it and that they wanted something else. But you kind of analyzed everything that could happen from this, and you made the choice to pursue something different. And I think that is kind of what makes your story a little bit different. It's not like you were desperate to get away from this thing. You were just desperate to, maybe not even desperate, but you were passionate to find something else, which I think is just such a beautiful thing. And it just really excites me. And I can't wait for another event. I haven't actually had a chance to experience one of your events yet. So perhaps you could
summer.
Exactly, this summer when I've got some time and some money, I'll be there. But I suppose perhaps the future is very bright. We're coming into the summertime. I'm assuming you've got lots of things planned. I do know that you have is it your 1-year anniversary coming up to that picnic in High Park? So what have you got planned for that? Is there anything that listeners need to know if they want to kind of participate and be involved?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we always have events going on. So just check it out on Insta. That's where everything is posted first. And then we do everything through Eventbrite. So just anything that's ticketed. We do free and paid events through there. The paid events are more curated experiences. The free events are just opportunities to connect in more low-key ways. So, you can find your niche and find whichever one suits you best. But this, for the 1 year. So June will be the 1 year. And that will be announced shortly, but I'll tell you what it is.
Sure.
It's going to be a redo. We're just going to do, we'll have other events throughout June, but to celebrate the 1 year, it's going to be another picnic in High Park. Same
Wonderful.
idea. The goal is to bring together, though. I love bringing in local businesses. So the goal is to have some local business presence there. People could maybe try some new things, get to know what's going on in their community. Because I think, Connection Collective is partially bringing these girls together, helping them connect with each other.
Yeah.
But I think, in Toronto, we want to have community that's rooted in in-person spaces that support, local businesses, elevate everyone around them. Yeah. And nothing feels homier than having imagine going to your local cafe, your barista knows your order. You run into a girl, that's what I want to help foster and want to create. So by bringing in local business owners and connecting them with these women in their 20s and 30s who are seeking connection, seeking activities and familiarity, I just want to build that. So that's kind of what the first year anniversary will be about, trying to bring those people to a public space, have everyone, intermingle and help everyone grow in that way.
Amazing. Well, exciting things ahead for sure. And we do have a little bit more time, but before we wrap up, looking back at this 1 year, what do you think your proudest moment is? And then what do you think has been the biggest thing that you've had to overcome?
I would say that my proudest moment is, it's hard because there's two, but I think the first one is actually
you can do both. Tell me both.
Okay. I would say that, my first proud moment, and I think this is the one I was going to say is my most proud moment, is just having the courage to start it, to post online and take that risk that like maybe nobody will show up. Because like even if, let's say, no one did, like that would still be okay. Like I don't think that would have stopped me in hindsight. I think I would have just iterated and tried to find a new way to do it. And just taking that leap, willing to kind of look cringy, willing to kind of put yourself out there for better or for worse and be seen admitting those things and be seen asking for support. I think everyone needs to do that a little more publicly. I think we all do want to help each other at the end of the day. So that's my first proud one. And then the second proud one is, I think, kind of obvious, taking that leap to leave my 9-to-5 job and say goodbye to stability and everything that I thought my life was going to look like and step into this like unknown kind of void of like, what is business? Because I still don't know.
Honestly, there needs to, I know half the time I'm like, do I need to go back to school and learn this, or am I just gonna fake it?
I think we need like a business for entrepreneurs, but also it needs to be condensed into like a 2-hour YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm not going back to school for that. I got work to do. I got to grow the business. So
exactly. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm proud that I took that leap, and now I'm in that unknown void trying to like feel around in the dark and make it work. Even when it's hard and even when it's weird and I don't know what I'm doing, I'm still out here with the same intention.
Yes. Amazing. And the thing that you had to overcome, do you think?
The thing I had to overcome. I think, it's just I had to say goodbye to a little version of myself. I guess kind of like we talked about in the beginning. I had to overcome this chunk of my identity that was, I am this girl who works in research. I am this, I work in cancer research, and I'm so proud of that. But that's how I would introduce myself when I walked into any room. It'd be like, you go into a party, everyone's like, who are you? What do you do? Oh, I'm Maggie. I work in cancer research. That's what I do. It's like, now I have to find identity outside of that. And I think it's allowed me to be a little more holistic in who I am. Like, I'm not just my name and my job. I am so many different things. I have so many different interests. Part of it is running a business, but now it's like, what other areas of myself do I have permission to kind of explore and lean into? So, I think that's what I would say.
Amazing. And it's interesting you say, like, when you would go into new spaces, I'm Maggie, I'm a cancer researcher.
Yeah.
And from my position, I think if you were to tell me that, I'd be like, oh, that's so interesting. I would perceive you as someone incredibly successful. I would perceive you as someone who was incredibly intelligent. And then it's funny when you like transition yourself. Do you find that you're perceived differently when you say something different? Or have you had the opportunity to introduce yourself in a different way? Do you perceive yourself as like have you had to battle with like, okay, now that I've left this STEM career behind, I'm now becoming an entrepreneur, which both are excellent career choices, but they do come with different things attached to them.
Yeah, totally different connotations. You're so right. Yeah, even hearing you say that, it's like, oh, you perceive me as intelligent. Of course I wanted that. Like, of course that's, people introduce themselves so intentionally. Like, we want to be seen as that, same as on Instagram. We post things intentionally. We want to be seen a certain way, and we want it to like reflect back onto what they think about us. So yeah, I have encountered, no one's, to my knowledge, like, and no one would say if they did, thought about me any differently. I just have to now become more okay with whatever they think about it, because it is like maybe like a less prestigious thing, like maybe. I know entrepreneur is like a very highly regarded career, but it's also very varied and people have different perceptions of it. So when I go into a room and I'm like, I run a social club, people are like, oh, like for money? Like, what do you mean? Okay. Like, there are questions, but I've had to kind of let go of whatever that means they think about me and like try to let everything else come through and hope that like if someone's getting to know me now, like they're going to get to know me because I'm funny and I am interested in them and I'm nice and I want to talk to them about all sorts of things. So yeah, I definitely, but I do see what you're saying. There is a connotation that comes with the way we identify and present ourselves.
And I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. Like when I posed that question, it wasn't like, I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. Like I think nowadays we're very much moving away from like, this is my name and this is my job and this is the entirety of who I am. Because at the end of the day, that is so far from the reality of the situation, especially like with the people I've spoken to. There's, you know, I've spoken to cancer surgeons before, and they're like, you would think that specific career is so singular, you know, this is what you do. You remove breast cancer. That is all that you are. But she, you know, through a series of events, she ended up having to leave behind that career because she couldn't do it anymore. And, you know, she's now become an author, a speaker, a content creator, someone who like myth busts all these like cancer things that are out there. And it's like showing that even if at one point in your life you were that singular career, things evolve. And I'm very much hoping, listeners, that this is making sense to you and that I'm not just talking around in circles, because I think sometimes with my guests, I get very like in my head about what I'm saying, and I'm very much hoping that it's coming across, it's being received correctly. But I think it's just such an interesting thing. Like whenever I talk to people about their careers, like it's so much more than just their career. And that's why, you know, when I reach out to guests, it's like, we're going to talk about your life, not just your career, because it's so intertwined. Anywho, my very last question for you before we say goodbye is, have there been any like key moments with the people that have come to your group and they've been like, I made a friend, or they shared something like that amazing that happened to them at one of your meetups?
Yeah, and that's the best part. Like, that's what makes it all so worth it. So, I mean, after every event, I'll absolutely get messages of girls saying they had a great time and they enjoyed themselves. But because I do make everyone add each other, I don't make them, but
you
I
encourage. Yes.
I strongly encourage with my words for them to add each other on social medias or to grab a phone number at the end. Like, I make them pull out their phone and like hold it in front of me and be like, okay, now you have this.
Good.
Open it. Just, that's your permission. Get going.
Yeah.
I see girls who, within days of meeting each other, because I'll know because I have them on Insta too, we'll be hanging out, we'll be going to concerts together, we'll be going to get like pedicures, going to Pilates, usually doing something similar in the like to the context that they met in. So if they met at a Pilates class that I hosted, I'll likely see a story within the next few weeks of them with a girl that they met there at a different Pilates class, which is like, that's kind of the point, to meet people who have similar interests to you, to build a friendship. And I think the best one, so one of the girls I met at my first event invited me to her Christmas party, and I went, and it was so sweet. Like, my first event was June. Her and I stayed in touch, met up a couple of times, and she invited me to her Christmas party, which was like the sweetest thing ever. She's so cool. Yeah. And I saw on Instagram 2 of the girls that I know met either at like one of my first or second events. They both weren't from Toronto, and one of them wasn't from Canada, and they spent Christmas together. So I was like, I did that. Like,
you did that. Your little fairy godmother that just put them together.
Yeah. So it's so fulfilling. Like, how can it not be? It's like, if those girls felt anything similar to how I felt when I was first here, and when I was feeling lonely, like, I know that feeling viscerally. So to know that maybe I reduced that in them and maybe even brought joy, like, I had to go full time. Like, come on, that feeling.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, just congratulations, congratulations for all the effort that you've put in, your 1-year anniversary coming up. Technically though, Maggie, I must say this idea started in January, So I think the idea has long since celebrated its 1 year.
The baby little idea was born in January. It was a very like, New Year's resolution, like thought.
Oh, and here we are today. And I suppose before we wrap up our conversation, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Any other bits of advice that we need to hear from you?
Oh my gosh.
I just put you on the spot there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You know what? I think the thing coming out of cancer research that I took and meeting these incredible people who, you know, participated in these trials and in these studies, it's like life can throw a lot at you and life can be really short. Like we don't know how long we've got. Mm-hmm. And they were a huge reason, like conversations I've had with some of the patients that I had in the past, like you don't know how long you've got. You've got to do whatever brings you that most joy, whatever excites you. Like if it's running a marathon, if it's writing a book, if it's quitting your job, if it's, you know, if it's a little thing or it's a big thing, like what are you waiting for? Like you've got to pursue that. Like we don't know if we have any more chances at this life. So, you know, go for it. You're here with the people you're surrounded by now. Tell them you love them and go do whatever you want to do. So
tell them you love them and go do what you want to do. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I will link everything below for where to find you. And please do check out the oh my gosh, what has happened? The Connective Collective, correct?
No.
Collective Connective.
It's so funny. I should have coming up with this name. I was like, there's too many C's. It's really long. Like now when I say it, it's a mouthful. And I'm like, I wish I could change it, but it's already in all my branding. So it's Connection Collective.
Connection Collective. No, it works. CC.
CC, I know.
CCs. And you know what? Have you come up with like, you know how all like when people have podcasts or brands or clubs or something, they have like a name for their followers. Have you come up with a name for your followers yet?
No, I should.
That's what you need to do.
Suggestions?
Oh gosh, now you're putting me on the spot.
C?
I don't think so. I was going to say Connected Crew, but that is just not okay.
Sounds like a 90s rap band.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to put the Connective Crew, yeah. The CCs. We'll workshop this. If you guys have any ideas, I am too looking for a name to call these people because SP just doesn't have a ring to it. And seasoned professional, you see, why did we come up with the longest names in the world?
No, we're like, we have to describe exactly what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. This is a seasoned professional podcast, but I think it also comes back to you have a very long name. I have a very long name. Yeah. Maybe it's something to do subconsciously where like it needs to be.
Yeah, it's easy for us.
It's easy for us. Exactly.
Everybody else.
Everyone else is like, sorry. Yeah. What did you just say? Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much, Maggie, for this wonderful conversation. Thank you all for listening. Please do check everything out below. And yeah, we will see you all next week. Bye. Functioning